Welcome to Series 6. Hello, and welcome to Series 6 of Mac's UFO News. A little later in the show we'll have all the latest UFO news from around the globe. However, we are starting things off with a look at the new trailer for the Capel Green documentary, which is due to be released soon. We also have a world-exclusive interview for you with the lead researcher, Mr. Gary Heseltine. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Came to the edge of this field, Capel Green, and in the field, the first thing I saw was one of our airmen upset, and Robert Ball was talking to him. The guy was scared about something. Walked forward into this field, and what I could see was a 50-foot diameter, approximately, glowing mist on the ground. I saw a red light come in, came down over the field in a downward arc, and went to the top of this mist, and I was not far from it, and there was a flash of light that was blinding. All of this is being filmed, and in the place was a triangular delta-shaped machine, object, craft.
The red, orange, glowing ball object was about approximately 2 feet off the ground. I cocked and locked the M60 machine gun. I was scared to death. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know if it was going to hurt me. Yeah, the airman jumped the fence and went out towards it, and if it had done anything to try to harm him, I was fully prepared to open fire on it.
Broke into 3 pieces, the whole thing just blew us away. I mean, there's no aircraft that could do that. The movements, no aircraft can even do that today.
It was like a thick beam that was scanning the whole WSA, like he was looking for something.
Well, I watched cameras go through the actions of filming, and I know still pictures were taken. And off the fabric of this machine thing came this bluish gold bubble that was about 1 foot off the ground, and it split into 3. And inside that, the upper extremities of what I only can say was a non-human entity.
My name's Gary Heseltine and I'm the editor of UFO Truth magazine. Thank you for inviting me as a guest on Mac's UFO Files.
Mr. Heseltine, thank you for appearing today. What made you launch UFO Truth magazine?
I launched UFO Truth magazine in April 2013, just a short time after I retired from the British Transport Police after almost 24 years. The aim of the magazine was to give somebody a magazine for people that believed that some UFOs, and I repeat the word some UFOs, were extraterrestrial in origin. That was my conclusion after many decades of studying the subject on a circumstantial evidence basis case. And whilst there are magazines out there, not many of them actually pin their colours to the mast, as it were. And I wanted to give people somewhere where people could go for the latest information. And so I'd had the idea. I'd met many of the world's top researchers over a number of years of lecturing, and when I decided to take the plunge and retire, I asked them to see if they would either give regular articles or occasional articles based on whatever they wanted to do, and the vast majority were happy to do that. And I think virtually anybody in the UFO field has been in the magazine, and so it aims to be an English language magazine. It's 96 pages, it's bi-monthly, it's an e-zine, so therefore it can be loaded direct to your tablet, smartphone, etc. That's what it's designed for.
Are you still researching police cases?
Yes, I'm still researching police cases, though not as often, and my research is not as in-depth as it was, because literally running the magazine and all the other projects that I'm involved in take up a lot of my time. But yes, I still do get them, and I think the current figures are around 550 cases involving around 1,100 police officers, 1,100 police officers. So it's a considerable number. The book that I began to write 3 years ago now is probably 60% done, but I've had to put it on the back burner simply because other projects have come along, like the Capel Green documentary that I'm currently working on, and the magazine gets in the way. So that's there, but life has a habit of getting in the way. So it will come out at some point, but I must complete the projects that I'm doing now before I can go back to that.
You are now heavily involved in RFI research. Where does that interest stem from?
I first became publicly involved in the Rendlesham Forest incident research in December of 2007, when I met Colonel Holt for the first time for a documentary that was being filmed at Rendlesham, which was the first time I'd been there, by the UFO Hunters Americans program with Bill Burns at the head. And from there I went on to have a 7-year collaboration period with him until kind of late 2014. And prior to that I'd researched it privately but not publicly, and I did have a bit of an interest, because what a lot of people don't realise is that I had served in the Royal Air Force Police between 1983 and 1989, and and I served on 2 RAF bases that guarded nuclear weapons. So in a sense I did exactly the same job as what the American airmen involved in Rendlesham did. I did. So I kind of have a unique perspective from a UFO point of view, and I knew how the guarding of nuclear bases and the guarding of tactical nuclear weapons worked. So I was immediately drawn to the stories and rumours of alleged incursions over the weapons storage area and all the implications of that.
You are now working on Capel Green. Can you tell me about
yes,
that?
like I said earlier, I'm now heavily involved in a new independent feature-length documentary called Capel Green, which came literally out of the blue when I got a phone call from what turns out to be the director, Dion Johnson, almost 2 years ago now, so, well, 18 months ago, and he basically said he'd met Larry Warren whilst accidentally whilst walking around the trail at Rendlesham, and in a bizarre coincidence they got talking, and Larry Warren had referred him to me about the possibility of working on a documentary, and literally it stemmed from there. When he asked me to be the lead researcher, I was, pleased, and what made it even more exciting for me was the fact that it turned out that it was an independent production, that there was no TV money bias, there was no TV UFO bias. You literally could go out, research the case, and put out, from my point of view, what I thought was relevant information that the public should be told about. So on that basis I then decided to really delve down into the case, literally from the first days afterwards, i.e. from January 1981, and seek out the best evidence from there. And what Capel Green will show is what I think is the best evidence about all of the case. Yes, it's got a big focus on Larry Warren and the so-called Capel Green scenario, but this is a tremendously exciting opportunity for me to give more information to the public than has ever been shown before by TV documentary makers. There's been a lot of good research done over the years, but in terms of TV documentaries, of which there have been 50 or 60, they make entertainment, they don't necessarily tell you the truth. So I just want to give you what I think is the best information in one go, and hopefully in the post-production process we'll manage to get all of that in. I'm certain we will give more information than has ever been shown to the public before, and and what we're covering will be a mixture of old information that seems to have been forgotten about, but nevertheless very important, and a lot of new information, because I've spoken to a lot of new witnesses and various different people during the course of my investigation over the last 18 months for the documentary. So I think that Capel Green will be a major insight into the case that many people will have not fully seen or appreciated before, because the mainstream media simply did not give them the information. I think this is an opportunity to kind of put that right.
What about the Larry Warren controversy?
Yes, the Larry Warren controversy. Yes, I'm well aware of the Larry Warren controversy. Who couldn't be? My research over the last couple of years basically confirms that Larry Warren was there, and that will be borne out in the documentary. But what is clear to me is, and I've said it on many times on radio shows, that the evidence really is there, that there has been an ongoing, and still an ongoing, campaign to discredit Larry Warren, but especially by some British trolls in the UK. And that's very, very sad. It's very unhealthy, in my opinion, for British ufology. I think it's split it right down the middle. I think some people were taken in by these people, but they didn't really know what the evidence was or how to interpret the evidence. Well, I think after an almost 30-year career in the police, 6 in the Air Force Police and 24 in the British Transport Police, I think I do know what evidence is, and when I looked at their evidence, it didn't stand up to scrutiny. There's a lot of twisting of things, and therefore, you know, it just falls by the wayside when you really scrutinise it, and all of that will be revealed. But unfortunately, a lot of people were taken in, and I think also that there's been an element where people have been a bit intimidated by some of these people because they're so abusive. But what I would always say to people is that if you have to use victim personal abuse to win your argument, then you're not much of a researcher, and you're certainly not a decent person in my opinion. If you have to do that, then you've lost the argument.
Will Capel Green change the face of the RFI?
Will Capel Green change the appearance of the RFI? It's a good question. I think it should do, put it that way, because I'm putting together a lot of information that's never been shown to the public. We have a lot of new and old information that is very relevant, that's never been shown, never been filmed, and I think it should have been. And really the answer to that is I'll let the audience make that decision. But the real answer from my point of view is I will give them that information, and then it's up to them what they make of it.
What can you tell me about the Chinese Disclosure Initiative?
The Chinese initiative is something that, again, life gets in the way and suddenly things crop up. Literally early September 2018, I get an email from Donald Schmidt, the American Roswell researcher, and he said he was inviting me to go to Moscow to meet with some Chinese and Russians about a possible Chinese initiative. And cutting a long story short, that actually came to fruition. I had 5 days in Moscow, I had a fantastic time, met with the Russians and the Chinese, and it turns out, and I can't say too much at this stage, is that there is an attempt by a Chinese UFO researcher to bring together the idea of like a United Nations style forum of national delegates from all the countries of the world, but essentially what you need initially is 30 countries, 30 national UFO representatives before you can then be recognised as a world governing body. So that's where we're at now. We're trying to recruit those 30. I think we're almost there, and hopefully that will come to pass. There's a lot more behind the scenes going on, but it's still very early days, and really it's a very low key at the moment. We're not really doing much publicity, but I'm optimistic at this stage that this may be a genuine attempt, funded entirely by the Chinese, I might add, to create a political wing of like-minded UFO researchers to say that essentially the UFO case is proven as extraterrestrial contact, and we probably should be moving towards contact protocols rather than still having this debate about whether they're here or not. I think for me the debate is over. They are here. There is an ongoing presence, and I think we really shouldn't be moving the debate further.
Can you tell me about your upcoming magazine conference in Home Firth?
The September conference. The UFO Truth magazine holds generally one Southern conference and a one-day event in Watford and a two-day event in Home Firth, West Yorkshire. Well, this year, because of the publicity and the work surrounding the Capel Green, and hopefully it'll be around that time that I decided to concentrate all my efforts on getting the documentary finished and out there so people can see it, and therefore there was no Watford Southern Conference this year, but we have got a two-day big event at the Home Firth Civic Hall, Home Firth being the last of the summer wine country in West Yorkshire, and we are looking to sell out as we normally do. It's now the 7th international conference there, and it proves very popular in the town. The dates are the 14th and 15th of September, the Saturday, Sunday. We have 7 speakers, the headline speakers being Daryl Sims from the United States, Hugh Newman from, who's well known for his Ancient Aliens connections, megalithomania, We have Alan Godfrey, the famous British abductee, Alan Foster, another great speaker from the UK. We have Gabor Charlie, who is the the leading UFO researcher in Hungary, and we have a number of things ongoing for the conference to make it enjoyable. I mean, they always prove popular, and tickets are still available via the magazine website, and we have a great time. And I really think that people now look forward to it on their yearly calendar, and it's certainly become a part of the calendar of events in Holmfirth. When I first started handing out leaflets 7 years ago for the first conference, people looked at me and thought, UFO conference, you're mad. But now all the cafes, restaurants, bars, hotels love it, because we essentially take over the town for a couple of days, and certainly the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it proves really popular. So we've turned the Holmfirth people around, and now it's become a fixture in the calendar.
What are your thoughts on the new Bob Lazar documentary by Jeremy Corbell?
Jeremy Corbell's Bob Lazar documentary. I reviewed it in the magazine, and I would have to say that I like Bob Lazar. I like George Knapp. When they're on screen, I think it's entertaining and it's good, but sadly I don't think that there is enough evidence yet to fully corroborate his claims. But I do find Bob Lazar compelling in many ways, but I would have to say that the documentary doesn't offer anything new really, other than some modern interviews from what we knew in 89, 90, 91, etc. when his story first emerged. But it's well worth seeing, and as I said, George Knapp and Bob Lazar, when they're on screen, I find them both compelling.
I understand you have a special offer for viewers of the show. Can you tell them what that is?
Oh, okay, here you go, a special offer. The first 50 people to take a year's subscription out via the Max UFO Files link on the website, I will throw in for free the entire collection of ufomonthly.com, which is 41 issues that ran for 4.5 years. And so, yeah, subscribe through Max UFO Files on the link on the magazine website, and sure enough, you'll get your subscription and an extra issues collection.
Mr. Heseltine, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
A world exclusive interview there with Mr. Gary Heseltine.
Former Nevada Senator Harry Reid is continuing to make the case for renewed studies into the UFO mystery.
Back in 2007, Reid and a few Senate colleagues sponsored a secret Pentagon program that investigated mystery aircraft and related phenomenon. The program was based right here in southern Nevada, but that effort ended 6 years ago, and really very little from that study has been made public.
Now the senator not only hopes the X-Files get released, but thinks there should be a renewed effort to get to the bottom of things.
Senator Reid sat down with the I-Team's George Knapp for this update.
I'll bet you anything that China's spending some money checking this out. I'll bet you anything KGB Putin is spending some money checking this out.
Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid dropped major hints that he knows potential adversaries Russia and China have carried out their own military studies to figure out how UFOs work and how to build their own.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
The so-called gimbal UFO, recorded by military pilots in 2015, is one of dozens of similar objects encountered off the coasts of Florida and Virginia in the last 3 years, according to Pentagon sources. The Tic Tac UFO, which buzzed the USS Nimitz carrier group in 2004, was not only seen by pilots and cameras, but also by several high-tech sensor systems, as documented in a 13-page report written for the Pentagon, a document that went into the database of OSAP. That's the original acronym for the study that Reid sponsored. The senator said these craft are not ours.
Wherever they are from, what do you think their interest is in us? What is it? Why are they buzzing around in the skies, and why are they interfering with the military?
Well, I would just turn that around. Why are we interested in them? Same answer to your question. Because we don't know.
Well, about Tic Tac, you've seen people try to explain it away. It was flares, it was birds. It's kind of an insult to our best pilots and our sensor systems that show this was real. It could do things we can't do, and we don't understand it.
Well, this has been going on for a long time. All these sightings are said to have been set off a rocket in California or something, but people do not want, who are in positions of responsibility, whether it's a Pentagon or whatever it might be, they don't want to have to try to explain something that's many times not explainable.
Reid says he has not personally read all of the reports and papers produced by the OSAP study, but he saw a lot of it. He assigned 2 senior staff members to look at pretty much all of it. The Pentagon has only confirmed the existence of 38 unclassified scientific papers produced by the study. 5 of those have been made public so far. But what else is in the files? Reid previously confirmed the study investigated reports of UFO activity over American nuclear missile bases. He also says part of the focus was on a mysterious ranch in northeastern Utah, a property once owned by businessman Robert Bigelow. The I-Team has learned that Bigelow's UFO study employed more than 50 people at one point. One of the known 38 papers looked into the harmful health consequences for persons who've had close encounters. The paper has not been made public, but the chief scientist in the program spoke about it last year in Las Vegas.
As part of this program, we looked at some cases that were really good from Brazil, 77, 78. It was like close encounters of the third kind. 1,000 pages of documents, all done by the Brazilian Air Force investigative team. 500 photographs, 15 hours of motion film, a lot of medical injuries when people encountered these craft at close range.
Senator Reid wanted to transition the study into a special access program, he says, because that was the only way to gain access to information and materials produced by other classified projects that have studied the same question.
Other programs that have been done and information they have, including different pieces of evidence.
Do you know what those pieces are?
No, I've just only heard rumors, and I'm not going to get into the rumors, but that's why I wanted the special access to go there. If I couldn't go, I'd send my staff to look at it.
The question remains, go look at what? George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Since the existence of the program was revealed 15 months ago, more than 1,200 people have filed public records requests with the Defense Department. So far, the government has yet to release any of the studies or reports.
Senator Reid thinks some of his former colleagues in Congress are now intrigued enough to ask for permission to see whatever files exist. We have additional links on this story on LasVegasNow.com.
Top secret Pentagon research projects have long been the stuff of conspiracy theories, but some of them are real. They actually happened, and they're worth knowing about. For example, this week, in response to a Freedom of Information Act request, the Defense Intelligence Agency disclosed that it had, in fact, funded research into UFO-related technologies. This would include the invisibility cloak, warp drives, and anti-gravity. The DIA spent $22 million from 2007 to 2005. The program apparently was initiated by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada. Nick Pope is one of the world's experts in this. He once investigated UFOs to the British government. He joins us tonight. Nick, thanks for coming on. It does sound like the core assumption of this research was that UFOs are real.
Yes, it really does. This is something of a bombshell, I think. For months, the Defense Intelligence Agency and the DoD have been trying to spin this story as, well, it's just about advanced aerospace weapons threats. But now we have this document which shows quite clearly what they were looking into, and it's nothing to do with airplanes. It's as you say, anti-gravity, invisibility, cloaking, wormholes, and warp drive. Some of this is about space travel.
These ideas are derived from objects that the U.S. government observed in space, presumably?
Well, we still don't know much of the story. We really only have a handful of papers and documents on this. I got this from the DIA's Office of Corporate Communications, and we're still trying to digest what this means. There are 38 papers that they produced under this contract, defense intelligence reference documents, looking at things which frankly sound like science fiction, and yet they're not. Our tax dollars have been spent on looking at this, and you know, there's one of these papers which absolutely is critical. It's looking at something called the Drake equation, and the Drake equation is, this is supposed to be a way that astronomers can calculate how many intelligent civilizations there might be in our galaxy. Well, look, if this is not a UFO program, if this is just about Russian and Chinese aircraft, what the heck are they looking at that for?
Why wouldn't the U.S. government just say, I don't think it'd be especially controversial, we believe it's possible that there are other forms of life in the universe and we're looking into it. Why hide that?
Well, I hope that's exactly what they will now say. I think we know that this letter, which I've now acquired and which has been released under the Freedom of Information Act, we know that this went to Congress. We know that the Armed Services Committee is looking at this very seriously. They're also looking into those videos that we've talked about before of the Navy jets chasing UFOs. So I think the real question is what's going on behind the scenes? And I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, maybe months, Congress is going to say more about this. The Armed Services Committee will speak out, and maybe we'll have public hearings at which all this will be revealed.
So former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, who was for many years in a position to have access to this information for certain, has basically said in public, I know a lot, I think this is real, but he hasn't gone farther than that. Have you spoken to him? Has anyone spoken to him?
I've not spoken to him personally, but I've seen some of his interviews. I've seen his statements. I've seen one of his documents. And for anyone who's trying to say, well, this isn't really about UFOs, it's about next generation aircraft, missiles, and drones. No, it isn't. Harry Reid has made it perfectly clear this is about anomalous objects in our airspace, and call them UFOs, whatever you like. You know, we take them seriously. The government has been looking at this.
Why all the lying? That's what piques my interest. It always piques my interest. Nick Pope, thank you for all the work you do on this. The non-crazy, sober, responsible work you do, and I appreciate it.
Well, my friends, that is it for episode 1. Please don't forget to like, comment or subscribe. Clicking the YouTube bell will notify you of future updates to the channel. To stay informed between episodes you can visit maxufonews.blogspot.com. As always, thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.